Beneath the sands of time, scattered across the earth, lie structures that defy explanation. Monuments of stone and earth that have resisted the ravages of history, yet still whisper secrets we cannot hear. How were they built? Who were their creators? And more intriguingly, why? From the pyramids of Egypt to the megalithic ruins of the Pacific Islands, ancient civilizations left behind legacies that challenge everything we think we know. Some say they were the work of advanced technology. Others believe they were messages to the future. What if these structures hold answers that could rewrite history itself? Join us as we journey into the unknown, where mystery and marvel await. Deep within the dense rainforests of southern Mexico, where mist drifts between towering ceiba trees and the air hums with unseen life, the ancient city of Palenque slowly emerges from the green. Its limestone temples rise like pale apparitions above the jungle floor, worn smooth by centuries of rain, roots, and silence. Unlike the vast open plains of other Maya cities, Palenque feels concealed, almost protected, its architecture unfolding in terraces and courtyards that seem designed to be discovered gradually, not announced. Archaeologists agree that Palenque flourished between the 7th and 9th centuries CE, during the height of Maya civilization. It was a center of political power, artistry, and intellectual life. The city's builders mastered stonework and urban planning, creating aqueducts that still channel water today and structures aligned with the movements of the sun and stars. Hieroglyphic inscriptions carved into tablets and stairways provide unusually detailed historical records, naming rulers, recording dynasties, and describing rituals with remarkable precision. Few ancient cities speak so clearly in their own voice. At the heart of Palenque stands the Temple of the Inscriptions, a stepped pyramid crowned with a modest sanctuary. Beneath it lies one of the most significant discoveries in Mesoamerican archaeology, the tomb of Kinich Janab Pakal, known as Pakal the Great. Sealed for over 1,000 years, the burial chamber revealed a massive stone sarcophagus, its lid intricately carved with imagery that has fueled both scholarly analysis and enduring mystery. Mainstream interpretation identifies the scene as a symbolic depiction of Pakal's journey into the Maya underworld, framed by sacred cosmology and the world tree, a visual language deeply rooted in known Maya belief systems. Yet the image resists simple explanation. The figure appears suspended, surrounded by complex mechanisms, flames, and celestial symbols. To some observers, the carvings resemble not mythological descent, but technological ascent. Over the decades, more speculative theories have emerged, suggesting advanced knowledge lost to time or symbolic records of experiences beyond the spiritual realm. These interpretations remain controversial, and no physical evidence supports them, but their persistence raises an important question. Why does this imagery continue to feel so ambiguous, even after decades of study? Palenque's mysteries are not confined to a single tomb. The city's inscriptions reveal an extraordinary awareness of time, recording dates that reach far into the past and future. Maya calendars were precise beyond what survival alone required, tracking cycles spanning thousands of years. Were these calculations purely ritual, or did they serve a deeper purpose, perhaps tied to astronomy, prophecy, or an understanding of cosmic order that modern frameworks struggle to fully translate? There is also the matter of Palenque's sudden decline. Like many Maya cities, it was eventually abandoned, reclaimed by the jungle with relentless patience. Warfare, drought, and political instability are widely accepted explanations, but the abruptness of its silence leaves room for speculation. Why would a city so advanced in engineering and governance be left to vanish beneath vines and soil? What internal pressures remain invisible to us, locked within eroded stone and incomplete records? Even today, much of Palenque remains unexcavated. LiDAR scans hint at hidden structures beneath the canopy, suggesting the known city may be only a fragment of what once existed. Each new discovery answers some questions while raising others, reinforcing the sense that Palenque is not a finished story, but an ongoing one. As the jungle continues to guard its secrets, the ruins seem to wait, not to be solved but to be listened to, asking whether the greatest revelations are still buried, just out of sight. As the jungle silence of Palenque fades, the journey continues northward, toward the low, humid plains of Mexico's Gulf Coast. Here, the landscape opens and the air grows heavier, charged with heat and memory. Rising from rolling green hills, El Tajín reveals itself not with towering temples alone, but with a strange sense of order, an ancient city shaped by rhythm, shadow, and repetition. At its center stands the Pyramid of the Niches, its stepped facade punctuated by hundreds of small, recessed chambers that catch the light like quiet pulses in stone. El Tajín flourished between roughly 600 and 1200 CE, long before the arrival of the Aztecs, yet its builders left behind no written language to explain themselves. What remains is architecture, precise, deliberate, and unusually symbolic. Archaeologists associate the city with the Totonac culture, known from later historical records, but much about El Tajín predates those accounts. Unlike other Mesoamerican cities, this place seems to communicate not through inscriptions, but through geometry and space. The Pyramid of the Niches is the city's most studied structure. It contains exactly 365 niches, often linked to the solar calendar. Mainstream interpretations suggest the pyramid functioned as a monumental expression of timekeeping, ritual cycles, or seasonal renewal. The idea is compelling, grounded in known Mesoamerican traditions that bound architecture to astronomy. Yet the precision raises questions. Why commit such immense labor to a numerical concept carved permanently into stone? Was this merely symbolic, or did it serve a function now lost to us? Surrounding the pyramid are dozens of ball courts, more than any other known ancient city in the region. The Mesoamerican ball game was not simply sport, it was ceremony, myth, and sacrifice intertwined. Relief carvings show ritual scenes that scholars interpret as symbolic reenactments of cosmic struggle, life and death balanced through human participation. But the sheer number of courts at El Tajín suggests something more pervasive. Was this city a ceremonial center devoted almost entirely to ritual performance? Or was the ball game a coded language, expressing ideas that words could not? El Tajín's builders also demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of engineering. Structures are positioned to manage water flow during heavy rains, and buildings show evidence of seismic awareness, an important consideration in a region prone to earthquakes. These practical solutions point to long-term planning and accumulated knowledge passed through generations. Yet no clear evidence explains how this knowledge was organized, preserved, or transmitted without a written record. As with many ancient sites, unanswered questions invite broader speculation. Some researchers have wondered whether El Tajín's architectural repetition and numerical symbolism reflect not just calendrical awareness, but an advanced system of knowledge, perhaps mathematical or cosmological in nature, that we have yet to fully decode. Others point to the city's sudden decline around the 13th century. Environmental stress and political shifts are likely factors, but the absence of violent destruction is notable. El Tajín appears not to have fallen, but to have been quietly left behind. When the jungle reclaimed the city, it did so completely. For centuries, El Tajín vanished from history, known only to local inhabitants, until it was rediscovered by the outside world in the late 18th century. By then, vines and soil had sealed its unanswered questions beneath layers of green. Even today, large portions of the site remain unexcavated, their outlines hinted at only through subtle rises in the earth. Standing among these ruins, one cannot escape the feeling that El Tajin was designed to be experienced rather than explained. Its messages are indirect, encoded in shadow, number, and repetition. And as the wind moves through empty niches and silent courts, the question lingers, not of what we know, but of what we have yet to recognize, waiting patiently beneath the surface. As the sun sets over the ruins of El Tajin, painting the jungle plains in deep oranges and purples, our journey takes us across continents to the rugged highlands of southeastern Turkey. Here, perched atop a mountain that rises more than 2,100 meters above sea level, lies a site unlike any other in the ancient world, Mount Nemrut. From afar, the peak appears as a jagged crown above the surrounding plains, its slopes dotted with colossal stone figures that stare across the horizon with an enigmatic stillness. The wind sweeps relentlessly across the summit, carrying dust and whispers of a civilization long gone, as though the mountain itself is guarding secrets too vast to be spoken aloud. Mount Nemrut was created in the 1st century BCE by King Antiochus I of Commagene, a ruler whose ambition was as monumental as the structures he commissioned. Antiochus sought to establish a lasting testament to his lineage, blending Persian, Armenian, and Hellenistic influences into a unique cultural expression. At the heart of the site lies a vast tumulus, a man-made mound of crushed stone nearly 50 meters high, surrounded by terraces lined with enormous statues of gods, animals, and the king himself. Each figure towers over 8 meters in height, their features meticulously carved, yet weathered by 2 millennia of harsh mountain winds. Archaeologists have long marveled at the sophistication of Nemrut's design. The placement of the terraces and the orientation of the statues appear deliberate, aligned with celestial events such as solstices. Antiochus's intention was clear in one sense. He sought to immortalize his dynasty and connect himself to the divine. Yet even with detailed study, many aspects of the site remain puzzling. The sheer logistics of transporting and erecting stones of such immense size atop a remote mountain without modern machinery raises questions about the methods employed. How did a kingdom manage to quarry, carve, and assemble these figures at such an altitude with the limited technology of the time? The statues themselves are a study in duality. Persian deities sit alongside Greek gods, while lions, eagles, and other symbolic animals stand as guardians of a sacred vision. Some researchers suggest this was an attempt to unify cultures and assert Antiochus's legitimacy to multiple peoples. Others note the possible astronomical significance of certain placements, proposing that the terraces functioned as a kind of celestial observatory or ritual calendar. The evidence is tantalizing but inconclusive, leaving the mountain shrouded in uncertainty. Adding to the enigma is the tumulus itself. Constructed of thousands of tons of loose rock, it conceals a chamber at its core, likely intended as a burial site for Antiochus. Explorers and archaeologists have never definitively entered this inner chamber, though historical accounts hint at its existence. Was this chamber meant merely as a tomb, or did it serve a more symbolic or ritual purpose, its contents holding meaning beyond mere burial? Could Antiochus have intended the mountain to act as a bridge between the earthly and divine, a message carved in stone and aligned with the cosmos for posterity? The mountain's isolation adds to the sense of mystery. Unlike Palenque or El Tajin, Nemrut is not tucked away in forests or valleys, but dominates its surroundings from a stark, unforgiving summit. The statue's gazes sweep across the landscape, seemingly frozen in a perpetual watch over the lands below. Yet the identities of those who originally approached the mountain and how they experienced its power remain speculative. Did they see it as a sacred site, a place of pilgrimage, or an assertion of political authority? The evidence is fragmentary, leaving us to wonder about the human experience that once animated these silent stones. Even the methods of construction are puzzling. The colossal heads of the statues are separated from their bodies, some lying at the terrace's edges, as if displaced by ritual, time, or seismic activity. Why were the heads positioned in this way? Some suggest practical reasons, perhaps easier transportation and assembly, but others propose more symbolic interpretations, tied to notions of divine presence, separation of spirit and form, or cosmic balance. Each theory invites contemplation, yet none resolves the underlying question. Why does Nemrut feel deliberately designed to provoke awe and mystery, even millennia later? Moreover, Nemrut's remote summit has shielded it from both human and environmental destruction, preserving its integrity far longer than many other ancient sites. Still, erosion, seismic shifts, and human activity have taken their toll, leaving gaps in the record that fuel curiosity. Could undiscovered inscriptions or hidden chambers exist beneath the tumulus or within the terraces, holding knowledge lost to history? Are there celestial alignments or symbolic messages encoded in ways that modern archaeology has yet to detect? Standing on Mount Nemrut today, one cannot escape a profound sense of scale, not merely the physical magnitude of the statues, but the ambition of a vision reaching across time and space. Here, stone and sky merge into a tableau that asks more questions than it answers. It invites us to consider the ingenuity, belief systems, and aspirations of a civilization striving to transcend mortality. And as the wind whistles across the terraces, carrying with it dust and the faint echoes of ancient rituals, we are left with the enduring, unsettling question: what did Antiochus truly intend, and how much of his design and his knowledge remains hidden, silently watching from the mountaintop? Rising from the fertile Bekaa Valley of modern-day Lebanon, the ancient ruins of Baalbek unfold beneath the glaring sun, their colossal stones casting long shadows across the centuries-old plaza. The site, known as Heliopolis in Roman times, is dominated by massive foundations that support temples dedicated to Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus. Yet it is not the grandeur of the temples that captivates visitors most, but the sheer enormity of the stones at their base, the Trilithon. 3 monolithic blocks, each weighing an estimated 800 to 1,000 tons, lie side by side, meticulously aligned as if placed by invisible hands with impossible precision. Even the largest of them, sometimes called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, stretches over 19 meters in length, its surface smoothed and shaped in a manner that defies simple explanation. Archaeologists date the construction of Baalbek to the Roman era, around the first few centuries BCE to CE, though much of the underlying platform predates Roman occupation. The Romans built their temples atop a foundation that is incomprehensibly ancient, suggesting a level of engineering and architectural skill that remains difficult to reconcile with the tools and technology available at the time. Scholars speculate that previous civilizations had already established the platform, leaving the Romans to augment and embellish what had long been considered sacred ground. The exact origins of these massive stones and the methods used to quarry, transport, and position them with such precision remain a subject of enduring fascination and mystery. The Trilithon's alignment and placement raise immediate questions. Each monolith rests with a precision that seems impossible given their weight, forming a base that is level to the smallest fraction. How were they moved across the valley, lifted and set in place without modern machinery? Attempts to replicate such feats today have highlighted the challenges, requiring complex pulley systems, ramps, and thousands of laborers. Yet even the most sophisticated reconstructions struggle to account for the efficiency, accuracy, and stability evident in the original work. Some researchers suggest ingenious but lost techniques, while others hint at knowledge passed down from civilizations now vanished. Beyond logistics, the purpose of the Trilithon remains equally enigmatic. Mainstream theories suggest the stones were primarily functional, forming a stable platform for religious structures, but their scale seems excessive for mere support. Could they have been intended to impress, to inspire awe in worshippers, or to demonstrate the authority of the builders? Or did they hold symbolic meaning, communicating power, cosmological understanding, or sacred knowledge encoded in stone? The scale and precision of these monoliths make such interpretations feel less speculative and more plausible, inviting us to consider that the ancients possessed concepts and capabilities we have yet to fully comprehend. Adding to the intrigue is the nearby quarry, where even larger stones lie partially cut from the bedrock. Some weigh over 1,200 tons, far surpassing anything used in the temples themselves. These abandoned monoliths suggest that the builders intended to move and shape stones of staggering size, yet stopped for reasons unknown. Were they abandoned due to technical difficulties, shifts in political power, or changing religious priorities? Or could there be other explanations, ones that challenge our understanding of ancient construction entirely? Baalbek's location also adds layers to the mystery. Nestled in a tectonically active valley and surrounded by mountains, the site commands sweeping views and appears strategically chosen, not merely for convenience, but perhaps for spiritual or astronomical purposes. Some researchers have pointed to alignments with celestial bodies, proposing that the massive platform and temples functioned as observatories or calendars, encoding knowledge of solar, lunar, or stellar cycles. While evidence remains inconclusive, the possibility that these stones are part of a larger cosmic design adds a dimension that is both beautiful and perplexing. The human element cannot be ignored. These stones were quarried, transported, and set into place by countless hands, generations of laborers whose identities, techniques, and knowledge have been lost to time. Every chisel mark, every smoothed edge, speaks of skill and patience on a scale that challenges modern expectations. Yet the silence of history leaves a gap between what we can see and what we can understand. How much of Baalbek's construction reflects practical necessity, and how much reflects intention, symbolism, or knowledge we can only guess at? Even today, the Trilithon continues to defy full comprehension. Modern engineering can theorize about lifting techniques or ramp designs, but the harmony of scale, placement, and alignment remains extraordinary. Each stone is a testament to ambition, ingenuity, and perhaps something beyond the purely material. Were these builders pushing the boundaries of what was physically possible, or were they working within a framework of knowledge now lost? Standing among the ruins, one is struck not only by the monumental scale, but by the timelessness of the space. The Trilithon does not merely support temples. It seems to hold memory itself, a memory of civilizations striving to reach beyond themselves, leaving messages carved in stone that are half understood, half hidden. As the wind moves across the terraces and the shadows lengthen over the ancient plaza, we are confronted with a quiet, profound question. In the colossal stones of Baalbek, what knowledge, intention, or vision has been preserved for thousands of years, and how much of it remains unseen, waiting for those who dare to look closely enough? Beneath the weight of these monoliths, under the sun and the shifting clouds of the Bekaa Valley, the mysteries of Baalbek endure. We can measure, theorize, and hypothesize, but the full story, the why and the how, remains tantalizingly out of reach. Perhaps it always will. Nestled beneath the streets of Paula on the island of Malta lies an entrance that leads not into the light of day, but into a subterranean labyrinth carved from solid limestone. The Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, hidden for millennia beneath layers of earth, exudes a quiet, almost reverent darkness. Descending its narrow stairways, visitors enter a world where the walls themselves seem to hum with ancient memory. The air is cool and still, the shadows deep, and every curve and chamber evokes the presence of hands long vanished yet precise enough to shape a complex network of halls, chambers, and niches entirely underground. The Hypogeum is not merely a tomb. It is a monument to human ingenuity, mystery, and perhaps a deeper, more enigmatic purpose. Archaeologists date the Hypogeum to around 4000 to 2500 BCE, placing it among the oldest freestanding structures in the world. Yet, unlike above-ground monuments, it is carved entirely from bedrock, with multiple levels descending into the earth. The structure contains hundreds of recesses, burial chambers, and intricately shaped rooms, each echoing with an intentional rhythm that suggests careful planning and profound understanding of space. The most striking of these is the so-called oracle room, where whispers and low tones resonate across the chamber with extraordinary clarity, as if the builders understood principles of sound long before formal acoustics were conceived. Could this acoustic phenomenon have been accidental, or was it deliberately engineered, designed to enhance ritual, meditation, or communication with forces beyond the physical? The Hypogeum's function appears primarily funerary, yet it challenges conventional ideas about early human societies. Skeletal remains found within suggest a complex and sustained practice of burial, with careful placement of the dead and occasional secondary burials. Some individuals were interred with extraordinary attention to orientation, positioning, or associated artifacts, implying beliefs that extended beyond mere interment. Why such meticulous care for an underground city of the dead? Was the Hypogeum simply a necropolis? Or did it serve as a ritualized space for communion with the ancestors, or even a center for spiritual transformation? The architecture itself deepens the mystery. Carvings and shapes, while simple in appearance, suggest a sophisticated understanding of engineering. Curved ceilings, narrow passageways, and supportive arches create a structure that has endured for over 6 millennia, resisting collapse despite the weight of the earth above. How did Neolithic builders, with no metal tools or formal engineering training, manage such feats? Modern excavation and analysis have revealed that limestone from the site was quarried and shaped with astonishing precision, yet the methods remain largely speculative. Some argue that small stone tools, patience, and sheer labor suffice as explanation. Others hint at techniques or knowledge now lost to time. Equally compelling are the symbolic aspects of the Hypogeum. Certain chambers appear deliberately aligned with the rising sun at specific times of year, while others create deliberate sightlines or pathways through which light and shadow move across carved surfaces. Could these alignments reflect a calendrical purpose or a ritualistic schedule of observation tied to celestial events? The Hypogeum seems to operate not just in space, but in time, a silent orchestra of light, shadow, and sound designed to engage both the living and the dead. Further layers of mystery emerge when considering the cultural context. Malta's Neolithic temples, such as Hagarchim and Menajdra, are among the most impressive in the world, yet the Hypogeum stands apart. While temples reach for the sky, celebrating the sun and the cosmos above, the Hypogeum descends into the earth. Was this underground descent intended as a complement to above-ground worship, a mirror of the heavens below, or a reflection of a dualistic cosmology that balanced life and death, sky and earth? The absence of definitive inscriptions or textual explanations leaves us to speculate, guided only by the structure itself. The discovery of the Hypogeum in 1902 revealed not only a Neolithic necropolis, but also an enduring puzzle. The precision, scale, and intent of its construction suggest a culture capable of organizing labor, planning in 3 dimensions, and understanding complex spatial relationships. Yet so much of their world remains invisible to us. How did they transmit this knowledge? Was it practical, spiritual, or perhaps both? Could the Hypogeum represent a form of prehistoric knowledge encoded in stone, sound, and light, awaiting discovery in ways we have yet to fully comprehend? Even today, access to the Hypogeum is limited, with protective measures in place to preserve the delicate microclimate. Visitors descend into its chambers and emerge with more questions than answers. How were the layers of the Hypogeum built over centuries? Were certain chambers intended for elite individuals, spiritual leaders, or specific rituals? And what secrets might still lie buried beneath the unexcavated portions of this subterranean city, hidden from both eye and ear? The Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni stands as a monument to human ambition and imagination, a testament to a society that dared to carve a world beneath the earth itself. Its corridors, chambers, and resonant rooms speak of a civilization striving not only to honor the dead, but to understand existence itself. And as one walks through its shadowed halls, listening to echoes that have traveled across millennia, a single question lingers in the mind. What knowledge, what intent, and what mysteries remain hidden in the silent stone, waiting for those willing to descend and listen? Emerging from the verdant landscapes of Japan, the Kofun burial mounds rise like silent sentinels across the plains, hills, and river valleys, their vast earthen forms commanding attention despite their age. From above, some resemble simple domes, while others stretch into elaborate keyhole shapes, their proportions and orientations meticulously planned. Covered in grass and often circled by moats, these mounds are more than mere burial sites. They are monumental markers of power, status, and belief, their presence a lasting testament to the societies that shaped them. Walking among the Kofun, one senses not just the passage of time, but a deliberate statement etched into the landscape, a dialogue between the living and the dead, the earthly and the divine. The Kofun period, spanning roughly from the 3rd to the 7th centuries CE, witnessed the emergence of a highly stratified society in Japan. These mounds, constructed to house the elite, range in size from modest domes to colossal structures like the Daisen Kofun in Osaka, believed to be the tomb of Emperor Nintoku. Some cover more than 400,000 square meters, encircled by concentric moats and adorned with thousands of haniwa, ceramic figures that depict humans, animals, and objects, standing sentinel along the terraces. These earthen forms communicate a society deeply invested in ritual, symbolism, and the projection of power, yet much about their construction and purpose remains tantalizingly opaque. The logistics of building Kofun are staggering. Constructing a mound hundreds of meters long, shaped with geometric precision and layered with stone, clay, and earth, required the coordination of thousands of laborers over many years. Archaeologists have speculated on the methods used: simple tools, ramps, and sheer human effort. Yet questions remain. How did these societies plan and execute projects of such scale without written blueprints or advanced machinery? Were there techniques or knowledge passed down orally that have since vanished? And why choose the keyhole shape so consistently, often aligning it with cardinal points or natural landmarks? Haniwa figures, placed atop and around the mounds, add another layer of mystery. While scholars generally interpret them as protective or ceremonial, their forms are highly varied and occasionally enigmatic. Some haniwa depict warriors, others show houses, animals, or abstract shapes. Were they intended purely as guardians of the dead, symbols of status, or something more, markers of cosmological understanding, or vessels for spiritual communication? Their silent presence raises questions about the intersection of art, ritual, and the unseen forces the Kofun's builders may have sought to engage. Inside these mounds, burial chambers constructed from massive stone slabs have been discovered, often housing the remains of individuals alongside weapons, jewelry, and ritual items. Some chambers are exceptionally large, their ceilings held aloft by stones weighing tens of tons. The scale, precision, and placement of these chambers suggest knowledge of engineering that exceeds what might be expected for the period. How were such massive stones transported, lifted, and fitted together with enduring stability? And, given the size of some Kofun, were these chambers reserved for a single ruler? Or could they contain multiple interments that hint at complex dynastic or ceremonial hierarchies? The purpose of the Kofun extends beyond burial alone. Their locations, often on elevated ground or near rivers, imply an understanding of landscape, visibility, and perhaps even astronomy. Some researchers note alignments with solstices or significant celestial events, suggesting that these mounds were not simply tombs but part of a broader cosmological framework. Were the Kofun meant to serve as spiritual conduits between the earthly realm and the heavens? Did their builders encode knowledge of time, seasonality, or celestial patterns in the layout and design of these massive earthworks? Despite centuries of study, much of the Kofun period remains shrouded in mystery. Excavation is often limited by cultural sensitivity, as many mounds are still considered sacred or the final resting places of emperors and elite figures. This leaves vast portions of the structures unexplored, their secrets intact beneath layers of soil and stone. What lies in the unexcavated chambers? Could there be artifacts, inscriptions, or evidence of practices that would radically reshape our understanding of early Japanese society? The symbolism of the Kofun, their shapes, size, and careful placement, suggests a culture profoundly aware of legacy and memory. They are not merely monuments to individuals, but statements carved into the land intended to endure across generations. Even after more than a millennium, the Kofun speak of authority, belief, and the human desire to connect the temporal with the eternal. Yet they also provoke questions that cannot easily be answered. How much of the knowledge behind their construction has been lost? How did these early Japanese societies reconcile the practical demands of construction with the spiritual or symbolic intentions encoded in their work? Walking along the terraces of these ancient mounds, one cannot help but feel the weight of both earth and history. Each curve of soil, each standing haniwa, and each moat reflects an intention, a deliberate act meant to last. And as the sun casts long shadows across their grassy slopes, the questions persist. What remains hidden beneath the earth? What knowledge is encoded in their geometry? And what truths about human ambition and ingenuity lie still buried, waiting for discovery? The Kofun burial mounds endure as a silent testament to civilizations that dared to leave their mark, not only on history, but on the very landscape itself, challenging us to understand what we see and, perhaps more importantly, what we cannot. Rising from the arid plains of southwestern Iran, the Ziggurat of Chogha Zanbil dominates the horizon like a monument to ambition itself. Its stepped, terraced form, once soaring high into the sky, is composed of thousands of baked bricks, arranged in precise layers that have withstood the ravages of more than 3 millennia. Surrounded by the remains of a sprawling complex of temples, streets, and walls, Chogha Zanbil conveys a sense of scale and purpose that transcends mere architecture. Even today, standing among the ruins, one can feel the meticulous planning that went into its construction, as if the builders sought to communicate a message to the heavens as much as to future generations. Chogha Zanbil was constructed around 1250 BCE by Untash Naparisha, a king of the Elamite civilization, as a dedicated center for the worship of Inshushinak, the patron deity of Susa. Its purpose, ostensibly, was both religious and political, to honor the gods, assert royal power, and centralize spiritual authority in a city designed to reflect cosmic order. Unlike other Mesopotamian ziggurats, Chogha Zanbil was part of a fully walled city containing multiple temples, courtyards, and storage facilities, suggesting a level of urban planning and administrative control rarely seen in this era. Its sheer scale and the precision of its brickwork speak to a society capable of unprecedented organization, but also leave room for deeper questions. The ziggurat itself rises in 5 distinct terraces, though the original may have had 7, each diminishing in size as they ascend. Staircases carved into the structure's faces suggest both ceremonial and practical use, guiding priests, rulers, or initiates toward the summit, where a temple once stood. Scholars interpret the ziggurat as a symbolic bridge between the human and the divine, a place where kings could commune with gods and where earthly order was reinforced through sacred architecture. Yet the precision of the construction and the scale of the labor invite speculation. How did the Elamites quarry, transport, and bake thousands of uniform bricks in an era without advanced machinery? And why devote such effort to a single religious complex in what was, otherwise, a harsh and inhospitable landscape? Even beyond practical considerations, the layout of Chogha Zanbil reveals a sophisticated awareness of geometry, space, and perhaps cosmology. The ziggurat's orientation is carefully aligned with cardinal points, and the surrounding temples appear to follow a deliberate pattern. Some researchers have speculated that these alignments correspond to celestial events, suggesting that the site functioned not only as a religious center, but also as an astronomical observatory, a place where the movements of stars and planets could be tracked for ceremonial or calendrical purposes. While definitive evidence remains elusive, the possibility raises profound questions about the level of knowledge possessed by the Elamites and whether it has been lost entirely to history. The city's walls, constructed with similar precision, enclose an area covering nearly 40 hectares. Bastions, gates, and fortified enclosures hint at a dual purpose: protection against invasion, but perhaps also demarcation of sacred space. Within these walls, streets and temple complexes suggest the presence of a structured, hierarchical society, yet the inscriptions and records that survive provide only glimpses of daily life. What rituals took place here, and how were the inhabitants, both elite and common, connected to the spiritual functions of the ziggurat? Some scholars have proposed that Chogha Zanbil served as a pilgrimage center, a nexus where the faithful could gather to witness ceremonies that reinforced both divine and royal authority. The ziggurat's current state, weathered, partially collapsed, and reclaimed by time, belies the grandeur it must have once displayed. Massive bricks, each carefully stamped and fired, remain stacked in near-perfect alignment, evidence of techniques that required not only skill, but also sustained labor across generations. Could there have been methods, perhaps lost over time, that allowed the Elamites to construct with such precision and uniformity? And what does this suggest about their understanding of engineering principles, structural integrity, or even sound and light, which may have played a role in ceremonial experience atop the terraces? Moreover, Chogha Zanbil's abandonment around the 6th century BCE adds another layer of mystery. Conquered and partially destroyed by outside forces, the site was left largely intact, yet its ultimate purpose faded from memory. Unlike some contemporaneous cities, it was not rebuilt or repurposed, leaving archaeologists to wonder why a city of such significance would be so suddenly forsaken. Did changing political power, environmental shifts, or spiritual evolution lead to its desertion? Or are there deeper, subtler factors we have yet to uncover? Even today, Chogha Zanbil retains an aura of enigma. Its terraces, streets, and temples speak of a civilization both practical and visionary, capable of monumental labor and sophisticated planning. Yet they also pose questions that resist final answers. Were these bricks merely building materials, or part of a symbolic language? Was the city a purely terrestrial power center, or did it embody a vision of cosmic order encoded in stone and mortar? And what other aspects of Elamite knowledge, astronomical, spiritual, or mathematical, remain hidden beneath the ruins, waiting for those who dare to investigate further? Walking among the terraces, imagining priests and kings ascending the steep steps, one is struck by the ambition, discipline and imagination required to create Chogha Zanbil. It is a place where human labor meets spiritual aspiration, where architecture becomes a dialogue between the mortal and the divine. And as the sun casts long shadows across the enduring bricks, the question lingers: how much of what was intended by its builders can we ever hope to understand? And how many of its secrets still lie buried, waiting for discovery? The Ziggurat stands as a silent witness to human ingenuity, ambition, and mystery. Its story only partially told, its full purpose still beyond our grasp. Rising from the rugged hills and sun-baked plains of Sardinia, the Nuraghe stand as silent sentinels, their conical towers and massive stone walls scattered across the island like echoes of a forgotten civilization. These structures, some solitary, others clustered into complex villages, dominate the landscape with an authority that is both commanding and enigmatic. Constructed from rough-hewn basalt, limestone, and sandstone, the Nuraghe vary in size from modest single towers to intricate multi-level fortresses. Standing before one, it is difficult not to feel a profound sense of antiquity, as if each stone holds a memory of lives lived long before recorded history, and secrets that the island itself has jealously guarded for thousands of years. Archaeologists date the Nuraghe to between 1800 and 500 BCE, belonging to a prehistoric culture that left no written records, yet whose imprint on Sardinia is both pervasive and mysterious. Estimates suggest that more than 7,000 Nuraghe were built across the island, making them one of the most dense concentrations of megalithic structures anywhere in the ancient world. While some were clearly defensive, positioned on hilltops or overlooking valleys, others appear more ceremonial or communal, forming intricate networks that indicate social complexity. How a society without writing, advanced metallurgy, or organized states could conceive, plan, and execute such a widespread and consistent architectural program remains a compelling question. The Nuraghe are characterized by their truncated conical shape, with walls that slope inward and taper toward the top. Interiors often contain spiral staircases carved into stone, corbelled vaults, and central chambers capable of supporting immense weight. Some towers rise to more than 20 meters, with stones weighing several tons each, stacked without mortar yet remaining remarkably stable for millennia. How were these stones transported and lifted into place with such precision? Could their builders have possessed knowledge of leverage, geometry, and structural integrity that surpasses what is commonly assumed for Bronze Age societies? Beyond their engineering marvels, the Nuraghe exhibit intriguing patterns of distribution and orientation. Many are aligned along ridgelines, with sight lines connecting them across valleys, suggesting they may have functioned as observation points, communication networks, or territorial markers. Some researchers have speculated that certain Nuraghe alignments correspond to celestial events, such as solstices or lunar cycles, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Were these structures primarily defensive, ceremonial, or an early form of timekeeping and navigation? The evidence is tantalizing yet fragmentary, leaving room for speculation without definitive answers. Inside the Nuraghe, small chambers and passageways suggest purposes beyond mere habitation or fortification. Some contain evidence of domestic activity, fire pits, storage niches, and pottery shards, while others seem deliberately constructed for gatherings or ritual activity. Around the towers, scattered artifacts hint at trade, craftsmanship, and long-distance connections with Mediterranean cultures. Yet, these clues do not fully explain the vision behind the towers themselves. Could Nuraghe have served multiple purposes simultaneously? Fortresses, temples, observatories, and symbols of communal identity? And if so, how much of their true function has been lost to time? The construction techniques of the Nuraghe remain a subject of intense curiosity. Stones were shaped and fitted with minimal gaps, relying on weight and placement rather than mortar, yet some of the largest blocks, found in the foundations, weigh tens of tons. Experiments attempting to recreate such constructions reveal the extraordinary skill and coordination required, even with modern tools. Did the builders employ lost techniques or tools? Were there principles of engineering and architectural planning understood in Bronze Age Sardinia that have vanished without record? The symbolic and cultural significance of the Nuraghe adds another layer of mystery. These towers dominate the landscape, yet they are not simply fortifications. Oral traditions passed down by local Sardinian communities speak of ancient kings, sacred rituals, and otherworldly connections, hinting at a spiritual dimension now inaccessible to us. Were the Nuraghe intended as earthly representations of cosmic order, or markers of social hierarchy and power? Did they serve as centers for community gathering, religious ceremony, or astronomical observation? Perhaps they fulfilled all these roles, simultaneously practical and symbolic. Even after centuries of study, vast portions of the Nuraghe remain unexplored, buried beneath soil or overgrown by vegetation. New discoveries continue to reveal the complexity of these structures, hidden chambers, subterranean passages, and artifacts that challenge simple explanations. Each excavation raises as many questions as it answers, reminding us that our understanding is still limited by what remains visible and what lies hidden. Walking among the towering Nuraghe, one is struck not only by their scale, but by the enduring sense of mystery. These stone sentinels were built to endure, yet their purpose and the knowledge behind their construction remain largely elusive. They ask us to consider the ingenuity of their creators, the society that coordinated such monumental work, and the ways in which human ambition and imagination can shape the landscape for millennia. And as the sun casts long shadows across their conical forms, one cannot help but wonder what knowledge, ritual, or wisdom lies hidden within these ancient towers, and how much of it has been lost to time, waiting quietly beneath stone and earth for those who dare to look closer. The Nuraghe structures endure as a testament to human creativity, ambition, and mystery, a civilization that left no written records, yet left behind monuments that continue to inspire wonder. And in their silent towers and intricate chambers, we are reminded that history is not only written in texts, but also carved in stone, awaiting discovery, interpretation, and perhaps a fuller understanding that still lies beyond our reach. Stretching across the sun-baked plains of northeastern Algeria, the ruins of Timgad rise from the earth with a quiet, haunting majesty. Once a thriving Roman colony, founded around 100 CE by Emperor Trajan, Timgad now lies largely abandoned, its streets, temples, and triumphal arches worn smooth by centuries of wind and sand. From above, the city reveals itself in remarkable clarity, a grid of perpendicular streets, perfectly aligned and extending outward from the central forum, a testament to Roman urban planning at its most meticulous. Yet amid this precision, there is a sense of mystery. Why such a carefully ordered city, now frozen in silence, should have vanished so completely from human memory, leaving only stones and echoes behind. The layout of Timgad is striking in its regularity. Streets intersect at right angles, forming rectangular blocks that once housed homes, shops, and public buildings. The Forum, once the heart of civic life, still retains the vestiges of temples, basilicas, and marketplaces. Outside the walls, the decaying arches of the triumphal gateway hint at ceremonies, processions, and celebrations that now exist only in imagination. Archaeologists note that Timgad was designed to accommodate tens of thousands of inhabitants, yet the speed of its decline, abandoned by the 7th century CE, remains puzzling. How could a city so carefully constructed, thriving in the peak of the Roman Empire, fall into obscurity so completely? The precision of Timgad's design is extraordinary. Streets were aligned to optimize sunlight, airflow, and defense, while the central forum was carefully oriented to provide both symbolic and practical significance. Mainstream explanations suggest that Timgad's regularity reflects Roman ideals of order, governance, and military efficiency, particularly as it was originally founded as a colony for veterans. Yet the scale and uniformity of construction, achieved without modern surveying equipment, continue to inspire awe. How did planners ensure such exact measurements across a vast terrain? And what methods allowed builders to maintain geometric precision over countless streets and public spaces? Beneath the surface of the ruins, further mysteries linger. Excavations have revealed traces of underground drainage systems, cisterns, and possibly secret tunnels, remnants of engineering that suggest a city highly attuned to both water management and strategic defense. Could there have been additional, now lost structures designed for specific ceremonial or political purposes? Some historians have speculated that Timgad's grid may encode symbolic or astronomical information, though evidence remains speculative. Were the Romans or the city's planners embedding knowledge of celestial cycles, territorial control, or religious alignment in the very geometry of the streets? The walls and gates of Timgad add another layer of intrigue. Massive stones, precisely cut and arranged, define the city's perimeters, while surviving arches, some still standing nearly 2 millennia later, signal both artistic sophistication and technical skill. Within these walls, inscriptions and carvings hint at civic pride, legal codes, and imperial presence, yet much has eroded with time. The monuments testify to human ambition, yet they provoke deeper questions. How much of the city's purpose, ceremonial life, and social structure can we reconstruct solely from its physical remnants? And what elements of daily life, now lost, might illuminate the intentions behind such meticulous planning? Timgad's decline is itself a puzzle. By the early Middle Ages, the city was largely deserted, abandoned to nature and the shifting sands of time. Some theories point to economic shifts, invasions, or climate change, but no single explanation fully accounts for the rapidity and thoroughness of its disappearance. Was it merely a practical abandonment, or did cultural and political factors play a role, erasing knowledge of the city from memory? And if so, what might remain beneath the layers of soil and rubble, hidden from sight, waiting to reveal further insights into the lives of those who once walked these streets? The human element is striking in Timgad. Each street, each wall, each carefully measured block reflects decisions made by individuals who sought to impose order, beauty, and utility upon the landscape. Yet these choices, so enduring in stone, pose a silent question. What inspired them, and what vision guided the creation of a city that could simultaneously accommodate practical life, ceremonial function, and aesthetic grandeur? Timgad's planners achieved a harmony of purpose and precision that continues to fascinate modern scholars, architects, and visitors alike. Even today, Timgad conveys a sense of narrative without words. Walking along its decaying streets, one can almost hear the echoes of life long past. Merchants trading goods, citizens debating in the forum, processions marking religious or civic occasions. The physical layout, the orthogonal streets, the monumental gates, the terraces of public buildings, offers clues but never the full story. And in this absence of certainty lies the city's enduring mystery. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the columns and pavements, Timgad stands as a testament to human ingenuity, ambition, and impermanence. Its stones tell a story of civilization, yet the reasons for its creation and abandonment remain elusive. How much of the knowledge encoded in its layout, its architecture, and its engineering has been lost to time. What secrets of Roman urban planning, ritual, and societal organization lie hidden beneath layers of earth and silence? And perhaps most profoundly, what does Timgad reveal about the impermanence of even the most meticulously constructed civilizations, and the mysteries they leave behind for those who come long after? Timgad endures as both monument and question. A city designed with precision, abandoned without trace, yet still speaking across the centuries to those willing to walk its streets, observe its patterns, and wonder at the knowledge, intentions, and human lives that built it. Rising from the sun-baked plains of northeastern Algeria, the ruins of Timgad stretch across the landscape like a city frozen in time. Once a thriving Roman colony, founded around 100 CE by Emperor Trajan, Timgad now lies in quiet desolation, its streets, forums, and arches worn smooth by centuries of wind and sand. From above, the city reveals itself with startling clarity, a perfect grid of perpendicular streets radiating from a central forum, each block meticulously planned, a testament to Roman engineering and urban vision. Yet, even amid such precision, there is an undeniable mystery. Why did a city built with such careful foresight fall into silence, leaving only stone and shadow behind? The layout of Timgad is extraordinary. Streets intersect at right angles, forming rectangular blocks that once contained homes, shops, and public buildings. At the heart lies the forum, flanked by temples, basilicas, and markets, a bustling center of civic and spiritual life. Outside the city walls, the triumphal arch rises as a monument to imperial power, its carved reliefs and inscriptions once visible to all who entered. Archaeologists estimate that Timgad was designed to accommodate tens of thousands of inhabitants, yet by the 7th century CE, the city was largely abandoned. What caused such a meticulously constructed settlement to vanish so completely from human memory? Was it purely political upheaval, or did something deeper, environmental, economic, or even spiritual, play a role? The precision of Timgad's design is remarkable. Streets were aligned to optimize sunlight, airflow, and defensive oversight, while the central forum was carefully oriented for both symbolic and practical significance. Scholars argue that such planning reflects Roman ideals of order, governance, and military efficiency, particularly as Timgad was founded as a colony for veteran soldiers. Yet the sheer scale and uniformity of construction, achieved without modern surveying tools, provoke further questions. How did planners measure and execute this grid with such exactness over an expansive terrain? And what knowledge or techniques have been lost, leaving only stone and dust to testify to their skill? Beneath the surface, Timgad conceals additional enigmas. Excavations have revealed remnants of underground drainage systems, cisterns, and possibly concealed chambers, suggesting a level of infrastructure sophistication often overlooked. Could there have been hidden spaces, ceremonial areas, or secret passages whose purposes remain unknown? Some researchers propose that the city's geometric layout might even encode astronomical or symbolic information, though evidence is inconclusive. Was Timgad designed purely for human occupation? Or did its planners seek to embed a deeper, perhaps cosmic order into the streets and buildings themselves? The city's walls and gates add another layer of intrigue. Massive stone blocks, carefully fitted without mortar, enclose Timgad with an elegance and durability that has endured for nearly 2 millennia. Arches, some still standing, testify to both artistic skill and structural knowledge. Inscriptions hint at civic pride, religious observance, and imperial authority, yet much has been lost to time. What rituals, celebrations, or governance practices occurred behind these walls, and how much of the city's purpose remains invisible to us today? Timgad's decline is equally perplexing. By the early Middle Ages, it was largely deserted, left to the elements and encroaching desert. Historians suggest possible causes: economic shifts, changing trade routes, or invasions. Yet no single explanation fully accounts for its rapid abandonment. Was the city's disappearance the result of pragmatic necessity, or could more subtle social, cultural, or environmental factors have influenced its fate? And what remnants, buried beneath centuries of sediment, might still reveal the daily life, beliefs, or secrets of those who once walked these streets? The human story embedded in Timgad is compelling. Every street, every block, and every monument reflects deliberate choices, coordinated effort, and collective vision. Yet these enduring stones pose a silent question. What inspired these builders, and what world-view guided the creation of a city so methodical, so monumental, and yet ultimately ephemeral? Timgad embodies a harmony of purpose and precision that continues to inspire scholars, architects, and visitors alike, while also reminding us of the limits of human understanding when confronted with the distant past. Walking through the empty streets, imagining the life that once flowed through them, one senses echoes of activity. Merchants calling out their wares, citizens assembling in the forum, ceremonies marking religious or civic occasions. Yet these traces are only partial, and the city's story remains incomplete. Its orthogonal streets, monumental gates, and terraces hint at a civilization that valued order, beauty, and control, but also one that vanished with little record of why. As the sun dips behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the pavements and columns, Timgad stands as a monument to human ambition, ingenuity, and impermanence. Its stones whisper of knowledge, skill, and social organization. Yet its abandonment leaves us with profound questions. How much of the city's story, its purpose, and its hidden designs will we ever truly understand? What secrets lie beneath the ruins, concealed by time, waiting for those willing to uncover them? And most intriguingly, what does Timgad reveal about the fleeting nature of human achievement and the mysteries civilizations leave behind for future generations to ponder? Timgad endures, silent yet eloquent, a city of precision, ambition, and mystery, inviting us to walk its streets, trace its blocks, and reflect upon the human ingenuity that created it, and the unanswered questions that still linger among its ruins. Hidden within the gentle, undulating hills of Andalusia, Spain, the Dolmen de Soto emerges from the earth like a monument both timeless and deliberate. At first glance, it seems unassuming. A low mound of soil, overgrown with grass, concealing beneath its surface a labyrinth of carefully arranged stones. But step closer, and the monument reveals its secrets. A passageway carved from massive limestone slabs, leading into a central chamber that has stood undisturbed for nearly 5 millennia. The Dolmen de Soto is not merely a burial site. It is a carefully orchestrated space, designed with precision and intent, where light, shadow, and stone converge to create an experience that hints at rituals and knowledge now lost to time. Archaeologists date the Dolmen de Soto to around 4,500 BCE, placing it among the most significant Neolithic monuments in the Iberian Peninsula. Its design is sophisticated. A long, narrow corridor, nearly 21 meters in length, leads to a circular chamber where the dead were interred. Massive stone slabs, weighing several tons each, form both walls and ceiling, carefully aligned to create a sense of enclosure and permanence. Yet it is not only the scale that is striking, but the precision. Each stone fits seamlessly with its neighbor, and the passage is oriented in such a way that, during the winter solstice, the first rays of sunlight penetrate the corridor to illuminate the chamber's heart. Such alignment suggests a deep understanding of astronomy and the cycles of nature, a knowledge that predates written records by thousands of years. The burial practices within Dolmen de Soto offer further intrigue. Human remains, often fragmented or rearranged, indicate complex rituals surrounding death and the afterlife. Some bones show evidence of repeated use of the chamber over generations, suggesting a continuous ceremonial significance. Were these burials intended solely as resting places for the dead, or did the chamber serve as a site of communal memory and spiritual communion? And why, in an age without written language, did the builders encode such sophisticated celestial knowledge into stone and earth? The architecture itself raises additional questions. The stones are quarried and transported with remarkable care, yet the methods remain speculative. How did Neolithic builders move such massive slabs across rugged terrain? Were levers, ropes, and sheer human labor sufficient? Or might there have been techniques now lost to history? Even more perplexing is the choice of orientation. The winter solstice illumination implies not just functional planning, but a symbolic intention, a desire to mark the passage of time, the return of light, or perhaps a deeper cosmological belief. The chamber's interior, circular and intimate, contrasts sharply with the long corridor leading to it. Its design evokes a sense of mystery and ritual, a deliberate choreography of space and perception. Could the corridor itself have been a liminal space, guiding participants from the outside world into a sacred interior, a threshold between life and death, the mundane and the sacred? And what of the henges, pits, and engravings found around the mound? Do they hint at ceremonial practices we can only begin to imagine, or messages intended for those who had once inhabited this landscape? Outside, the mound itself and its surrounding landscape suggest deliberate placement. Overlooking the fertile plains and small rivers of Andalusia, the Dolmen de Soto occupies a space of both prominence and seclusion. Its builders chose the location not merely for practical purposes, but with awareness of sightlines, topography, and perhaps spiritual resonance. Could the monument have functioned as a calendar, a temple, or a marker of territorial identity? Might it have been a gathering point for seasonal rituals, bringing communities together in a shared observance of celestial events? The evidence invites speculation, yet definitive answers remain elusive. Modern exploration has uncovered only fragments of the story. Excavations reveal human remains, pottery, and traces of ritual offerings. Yet much of the dolmen remains shrouded in earth, its full extent and construction still partially hidden. The monument's age, scale, and astronomical precision challenge assumptions about Neolithic societies, suggesting that knowledge, skill, and intent were far more sophisticated than traditionally credited. What techniques, spiritual insights, or communal practices enabled these ancient people to conceive and realize such a lasting structure? Even today, the Dolmen de Soto evokes a sense of quiet awe. As sunlight filters into the passage during the winter solstice, illuminating the chamber's interior, one feels a connection across millennia, a momentary bridge between the living and those long gone. The corridor and chamber speak not in words, but in geometry, light, and the enduring presence of stone. They invite reflection on the relationship between humans, nature, and the cosmos, and on the ways in which early societies sought to understand their place in the universe. Walking along the mound, imagining the ceremonies, burials, and communal gatherings that once took place, one is struck by both the ingenuity and the mystery of its creators. The Dolmen de Soto was built to endure, yet the motivations, beliefs, and techniques behind its construction are largely lost. What knowledge was encoded into its stones? What rituals performed in its shadows? And what cosmic understanding guided its builders? How much of its meaning can we ever recover, and how much remains forever beyond our grasp? The Dolmen de Soto endures as both monument and question, a silent testament to Neolithic skill, foresight, and ritual imagination. Its passageways and chamber, aligned with celestial rhythms, invite us to ponder not only the people who built it, but the mysteries they sought to capture in stone. And as we stand at its entrance, peering into the shadowed corridor, the same question persists. What secrets, what knowledge, and what purpose remain hidden within this ancient mound, waiting patiently for discovery beneath the earth? Nestled within the arid coastal valleys of Peru, the ancient city of Caral rises subtly from the earth, its low pyramidal mounds and sun-baked plazas blending into the surrounding desert landscape. Unlike the towering stone monuments of later civilizations, Caral's structures are composed of carefully shaped adobe and stone, their surfaces worn smooth by millennia of wind and time. From a distance, the city may seem understated, almost unremarkable, but as one approaches, the scale and precision of the urban layout become apparent. Broad plazas, ceremonial platforms, and interconnected residential complexes reveal a civilization that, over 4,500 years ago, orchestrated a city of remarkable sophistication. Caral is recognized as the oldest known city in the Americas, dating back to approximately 2600 BCE. Its discovery in the 1990s challenged long-held assumptions about the origins of complex urban life in the Western Hemisphere. Archaeologists have uncovered 6 major pyramidal structures, dozens of residential complexes, and expansive public spaces, all aligned with remarkable regularity. Yet while these findings illuminate aspects of Caral's architectural genius, they also provoke profound questions. How did a society with no known writing system, no ceramics, and limited metallurgy construct a city of such scale and organization? What social, religious, or political structures allowed for this unprecedented level of coordination? The city's monumental platforms, built from alternating layers of stone and adobe, are not merely architectural feats. They appear to encode symbolic meaning. The largest pyramids rise over 30 meters above the desert floor, oriented in ways that suggest awareness of solar and astronomical cycles. Some researchers argue that the alignment of the pyramids may have corresponded to solstices, guiding ceremonial activity or agricultural planning. Could these orientations have served as early calendars or ritual markers? And if so, what knowledge or cosmological understanding did the builders possess, so long before written records could codify it? Caral's urban design reflects careful planning. Broad streets connect ceremonial platforms to residential clusters, while plazas appear to have accommodated gatherings, rituals, or marketplaces. Evidence of acoustic engineering has been observed in some of the central plazas. Stone structures and platforms seem designed to amplify sound across vast open spaces. Was this intentional, meant to carry the voice of a leader or priest to thousands of people, or merely a fortunate quirk of construction? And how much of Caral's social or religious function can be inferred from these structures when written records remain absent? The city also reveals a striking contrast between simplicity and sophistication. The people of Caral relied on basic tools and materials, yet they created monumental constructions that have endured for nearly 5 millennia. Stones were quarried, shaped, and transported with remarkable skill, and adobe platforms were compacted to achieve durability in an environment prone to earthquakes and seasonal rains. How did they accomplish such feats without the technologies that would define later civilizations? Were there techniques, perhaps passed down orally or through trial and error, that have since been lost to history? Evidence of societal complexity extends beyond architecture. Archaeologists have discovered intricately woven textiles, quipu-like devices, and musical instruments crafted from local materials. These artifacts suggest a culture capable of both artistic expression and technological ingenuity, capable of coordinating large-scale labor while fostering creativity and ritual practice. Yet despite these discoveries, The exact nature of Caral's governance, spiritual beliefs, and daily life remains largely speculative. Who held power, and how was it exercised? How were the city's inhabitants organized to maintain such monumental construction over generations? The city's location itself is revealing. Nestled near the Soup River, Caral occupied a fertile valley that could sustain agriculture, yet it is also surrounded by desert and rugged hills. Its planners clearly understood the advantages of strategic placement, ensuring access to water and arable land while maintaining defensible positions. Was the city designed primarily for sustenance, ritual, governance, or all three? And how did the builders perceive their relationship with the surrounding environment? Did geography dictate the city's layout, or did symbolic and cosmological considerations guide their choices? Caral's abandonment, around 1800 BCE, adds another layer of mystery. Unlike later cities that leave extensive records or traces of conflict, Caral seems to have faded gradually, without clear evidence of conquest or destruction. What prompted this once thriving urban center to decline? Environmental change, shifting river courses, social upheaval, or spiritual transition? The absence of definitive explanations leaves us with more questions than answers, highlighting both the ingenuity of the city's creators and the fragility of even the most sophisticated early societies. Walking among the ruins of Caral, one is struck by the deliberate harmony of its structures. The plazas, pyramids, and residential complexes speak of a civilization that understood organization, ritual, and communal effort. Yet the city also whispers of mysteries, hidden knowledge encoded in stone, vanished traditions, and human ingenuity that predates our written understanding. How much of Caral's design was practical, and how much symbolic? What rituals, observances, or celestial knowledge guided its builders? And perhaps most provocatively, what other cities, monuments, or technologies might lie undiscovered, revealing a far older and more complex story of human civilization than we currently imagine? Caral endures as a city of paradoxes, simple in materials, yet monumental in vision, silent in voice, yet eloquent in design, ancient in age, yet timeless in the questions it provokes. Its plazas and pyramids invite us to reflect not only on the people who built it, but on the broader mysteries of human innovation, ambition, and understanding. And as the sun casts long shadows across its platforms and terraces, one cannot help but wonder, what truths about the origins of civilization still lie hidden, waiting to be revealed beneath the soil of the Soup Valley, and how much of Caral's knowledge has been lost to the passage of time, leaving only stones and silence to tell its story?